What kind of karate is in Cobra Kai, Part 3? Just when you thought we couldn't rehash the topic enough, we find out new ways to geek out about it. Now, I do want to say two things before we start. The first being that this video is the third in the series, and I'm not going to rehash the debate in my previous two videos, in which we set out to determine what style of martial arts do the Cobra Kai and Miyagi Do dojos practice. I delivered my analysis in the first one, and we got tremendous feedback from viewers, and in the second video, I returned to that analysis while taking suggestions into consideration. You may want to go check out those two episodes first before going forward, and I've listed them below in the description. The other thing I would like to mention is that this video might contain some minor spoilers if you have not seen Cobra Kai on YouTube Premium. And if you haven't, go do that right now and then come back. There are 2 seasons currently available. Both are fantastic and worthy follow-ups of the original films. If you like The Karate Kid, then this show is right up your alley. And that's alley with an EY. In the first 2 videos, I had determined that Cobra Kai was depicted as some version of Tong Tsui and that Miyagi Do karate was based on the Okinawan art of Goju-ryu. I'm not going to list all the supporting clues again, but I will say that both of these seem to have been confirmed. In the recent interview, William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, was asked what style of martial arts were in the film, and he said that he was trained by Pat Johnson, who is also the referee in the film, in the style of Tong Tsui, and that Ralph Macchio was trained in the Okinawan art of soft style, defensive style. I think he was intending to say hard soft style, which is the literal translation of Goju-ryu. And if that isn't enough, then we see a shot in Cobra Kai Season 2 in which Daniel is hanging up a picture on the walls of Miyagi Do, and he hangs up a picture of Chojin Miyagi, who is the founder of Goju-ryu. That's pretty definitive if you ask me. Now, I got a lot of great suggestions and input from many of you, and you provided awesome observations. Now, the truth of the matter is, while the in-world arts might have been Tong Tsui and Goju-ryu, we do have to take into account that this is a film and creative liberties are usually taken. There are likely many influences in the stunts and choreography of the films, and even more so in the Cobra Kai show, as we can see a pretty dynamic mix of arts. Now, in the previous video, I asked viewers for help with 2 questions. The first was helping identify the photographs in the Cobra Kai dojo, who they were of, and second, what type of kata Terry Silver was practicing in Karate Kid Part 3. Now, at the time, I was hoping it would confirm the Korean art of Tong Tsui Do. In reality, the truth was much simpler, but still pretty close. The Karate Kid filmed the Cobra Kai dojo scenes at a real school at the time, Jun Chong's Taekwondo in North Hollywood. Now, this was a functioning dojang, so it's very likely that the studio left much of the set decoration in place. And in fact, within an hour of the last video posting, viewers identified the first set of photographs by the door as they are of Jun Chong himself. There is no question that these are the same photos. Now, the picture above the mirror wasn't as clear. I got many great suggestions, but I was unable to find any online photo that seemed to match. And honestly, it's pretty blurry, so unless somebody involved in that dojo or the making of the film is watching, we're just going to have to keep speculating. While Jun Chong's Taekwondo is still running today, it is no longer in that same location, and in fact seems to have grown in size, and so a big congratulations to them for keeping a successful school running for so long. Now, as for the kata that Terry Silver was performing, the general consensus seems to be that it wasn't an official kata, but rather an impromptu or improvised workout, which makes pretty sense. So unless anyone can pinpoint anything specific, we're just pretty much going to go with that. So with all that being said, I thought it might be fun to take a look at some of the other characters and cast members and touch upon some of the arts that they might know, either previous to the films or something they picked up afterward. Ironically, the 2 actors that didn't have any martial arts experience at all are Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita, with Morita's character supposedly being the best martial artist in the entire series thus far. Nevertheless, Ralph Macchio stands as a figurehead. He was relatable and inspired thousands of kids, including myself, to join the martial arts. Now, Pat Morita's stunt work was performed by Shito-ryu master Fumio Demura, who was also said to be a partial inspiration for the character. But fun fact though, Pat Morita left his own legacy in the series as he personally designed the bonsai tree logo that stands to represent Miyagi Do karate. Fumio Demura began training in the martial arts at the age of 9 and holds a 9th Dan rank in Shito-ryu. He has written many books, including this one on the side that I picked up several years ago, and he's appeared in several films, including a documentary on himself from 2015 entitled The Real Miyagi. To this day, he is still a highly respected figure in the martial arts world, and I've included a list of some of his works below in the description. Now, we also previously mentioned Pat Johnson as the referee in the film, and he was also the lead choreographer of not just The Karate Kid, but multiple films including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mortal Kombat. Mr. Johnson is a 9th Dan in Tong Tsui Do, and he has an extensive history of martial arts, including training under Chuck Norris. He is heavily respected in the art, and he is currently serving as the head of the National Tong Tsui Do Congress. Fun fact, one of Mr. Johnson's students was actor Steve McQueen, father of actor Chad McQueen, who we all know as Dutch in The Karate Kid. Now, I feel safe in assuming that I'm not the only one who noticed a standout participant in the All Valley Karate Championship tournament. Even as a child, I could tell that Darrell Vidale was a real-life martial artist. His moves were just too fast and too crisp to not be. He can be seen in the first film plowing through his way through Cobra Kai students until falling to Johnny in the semifinals. Although, truth be told, I believe he would have really won that match in real life. Mr. Vidale is an accomplished martial artist, and he holds a 10th Dan in Kenpo and runs Vidale Kenpo in California. He also has experience training in and teaching Wing Chun and Filipino stick fighting. He leaves his legacy in The Karate Kid not only as a tournament participant, but also contributed to the stunt work and choreography, and that's him performing the crane kick on the beach dump. Still an incredible artist to this day, you can find clips of him fighting on YouTube. I'll be blunt, this guy's a badass. And if you're watching Mr. Vidale, we all know who really that trophy belongs to. Now, as we go through the cast members of both movies and the show, there are several other actors who have martial arts experience on and off set. First, William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence himself. While he didn't have any prior karate experience before the film, he was bitten by the bug and he continued training in Tong Tsui Do afterward. And honestly, it shows. In the Cobra Kai show, you can see he still has great form and flexibility. Then we have Martin Kove, who plays the villainous Sensei John Kreese, one of my favorite bad guys of the 80s. He brings a serious weight and respect to the role, and while we see him get his at the hands of Miyagi twice, it is a shame he didn't have more combat roles in the films, as Mr. Kove himself has personal experience in Kendo, Okinawan Te, and Tiger Kenpo. Looking past John Kreese, we will find Terry Silver close behind him, played brilliantly by Thomas Ian Griffith. Terry Silver is the one behind the maniacal revenge plot of the third film. Mr. Griffith holds a black belt in Kenpo karate and studied Taekwondo since childhood. And that isn't surprising, as his techniques in the film are sharp. And in my personal opinion, he's the one character that seemed like a possible challenge to Miyagi. Almost. And speaking of villains, who can forget Mike Barnes, the crazy bully from the third movie? Played awesomely by Sean Kanan. Mike Barnes kind of is a little bit of a hard character to pin in terms of the in-world art, because we're not really given a lot of his backstory, or really any of his backstory. He was a hired hand, he wasn't the Cobra Kai student that came up through the ranks, so the movie doesn't really give us any hints as to what art Mike Barnes might have learned. But in real life, actor Sean Kanan studied boxing before switching over to kickboxing and Shotokan karate. Now, when he started doing the film, he obviously worked with the stunt coordinators, Pat Johnson and Shito Ryu master Fumio Demura, so after the film, he continued training in both arts. And also kind of an interesting fact is he beat out 2 other martial artists for the role of Mike Barnes. It's got to be the intensity. He brings a serious intensity to this role, like to the point of being crazy. And apparently during auditions, when they brought him in to do lines with Ralph Macchio, he bullied Ralph Macchio in the audition and put him in the corner, and the cast and the directors realized, yeah, hey, this is the guy, because he's getting the effect that we need. And also a fun fact, he got seriously injured during the making of this film. In the scene where they're all fighting Miyagi in a dojo, he comes flying through the front doors. They performed that stunt many times. He did it himself, and he landed upwards of like 20 times on the floor doing the stunt. But what nobody realized was on one of those landings, he actually ruptured something. He tore a muscle line or something in his body, and he was bleeding internally and didn't know it. So he had to have emergency surgery, and he almost died from it. And they were going to continue the film without him with a stunt double, and he insisted, no, let me do it, let me do it. He worked hard, he trained, he got back into it because he was so intense in his role. He fought so hard. He was a Karate Kid fan from watching the first 2 movies that he dedicated himself to it. So he worked his way up, and he became an awesome villain. And even his little tirade at the end of the film when he's goading Daniel to get up, that was all ad-lib, that wasn't scripted. So what an awesome performance by this guy. Mike Barnes is awesome. Ron Thomas. Ron Thomas plays Bobby Brown, the only Cobra in the first film that showed Daniel any sympathy. He knew Daniel didn't quite deserve the beatings that Johnny gave him, and you can see it on his face multiple times. And he even confronts Johnny about it. Now, in real life, Mr. Thomas is a great motivational speaker, author, and an accomplished martial artist. As listed on his website, his 30-year history of credits include 2-time world champion, 5-time international self-defense champion, 6th-degree black belt, United States Jiu-Jitsu team trainer, founder and sensei of the world-class training centers in Los Angeles, national rank examiner for the United States Judo Association, and personal coach for multiple national and world champions. He was one of the few actors going into the film with real martial arts experience, and he was supposedly allowed to choreograph his own fights. Now we move on to the young cast of Cobra Kai. So the experience here is limited, but it's kind of worth looking into. First, we have Xolo Maridueña, who plays Miguel, and for all intents and purposes is the new Karate Kid. His experience coming into the show was limited, saying that he did study about a year of karate as a child, but working in Cobra Kai has renewed his interest in the martial arts, and he's showing a lot of early skill, and hopefully he'll follow the path of William Zabka and continue training after his term on the show. Next, we have Miguel's rival, Robbie, played by Tanner Buchanan. His story is very similar, having studied Taekwondo at a young age, roughly between ages 10 and 12, and he was only a few belts away from black belt before quitting due to a heavy schedule. He is one of the standout characters in my opinion on the show because he's demonstrating a lot of solid techniques, and it really wasn't surprising to find out that he had prior combat experience. Even Jacob Bertrand, Lip transformed into Hawk, comes to the table with some experience. He had prior training in karate and grappling, which seems to come natural to him in the show. He's just one of these great young cast members and actors that have so much martial arts potential that I really hope they continue on this path, and I'm really anxious to see where they go in the future with it, what kind of skill they can develop. As we get into the All Valley tournament of season 1, we have to acknowledge Talon Chat, who plays Xander Stone. Now, I don't think anyone here is surprised to hear that he has real life training, and he holds a black belt in Taekwondo and has some significant capoeira experience. Both of them he showcases in the show. Now, speaking of capoeira, I wasn't quite able to identify this actor. I failed at IMDb, but there's no way he was able to take on Little Bert without having significant experience. And keeping in tradition with the head referee, we have Hiroko, who plays the new ref of the tournament, and just like Mr. Johnson, leads the stunt work and choreography on the show. Now, Hiroko is the son of Soke Hiroyuki Koda, founder of US Yoshukai Karate, which traces its roots back to the Japanese art of Chito-ryu. Okay, so who is the real Karate Kid? This is a debate that has had the internet in a tizzy for the past couple of years. Is it Daniel? Is it Johnny? No. Actually, it's screenwriter Robert Mark Kamen. Mr. Kamen conceptualized and wrote the script for The Karate Kid, and it said that he loosely based it off his own experiences. He had a martial arts background himself, and when he was writing the film, he based the character of John Kreese collectively on 2 instructors he met early in his training, a tough former Marine who had become a karate instructor, and another sensei who encouraged dirty fighting. Disappointed with the attitudes, Mr. Kamen turned to the Okinawan art of Goju-ryu and based Mr. Miyagi off his real-life sensei, Meitoku Yagi, who also happened to be a direct student of Goju-ryu founder Chojun Miyagi. So I think that settles that. So I'm asking you guys for a little bit of homework. There was one system I was trying to identify and wasn't having much luck. The first opponent that Daniel faces in the tournament has this red school or art logo on his back, and you can spot the same emblem on others in the background throughout the tournament. So I'm really unfamiliar with his fighting stance as well, and I was kind of curious if any of you out there knew what the symbol was, whether it was an art or a school, or had any idea of what this guy might practice. You know, we're not presented with a lot of information, so I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. So that does it for this episode. Is there anyone I missed? I would absolutely love to hear any observations you have on the film, perhaps other tournament participants. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and please be sure to click on the bell icon below. And I have listed in the description below links to books by both Fumio Demura and Ron Thomas, and I encourage you to check them both out. Also, please be sure to support us on Patreon. You know, the more supporters we get, and I want to thank those who have supported us so far. You guys have been amazing and awesome. We can only do this because of you guys, so the more we all get involved, the more we can do. Thank you so much, everyone.